රිවයින්ඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන් නිසා මුකුත් මගේ වෙන්නේ.
BOTV TV බලන හොඳම විදිහ.
Good evening. Tonight, clashing with the police. 5 arrested over a sword attack in Jaffna. 1 shot dead by police. Need of the hour. President Maithripala Sirisena stresses the necessity of working together by all to protect children of the country. Temple shooting. All 5 suspects arrested over the shooting incidents of the Katharagama Kirivehera premises were remanded till the 20th of this month. Delaying tactics. Parliamentarian Udaya Gammanpila charges that the government is trying to postpone the provincial council elections.
They will postpone the PC elections until holding the presidential election.
And in international headlines, immigration debacle. First Lady of the United States Melania Trump voices against the zero-tolerance immigration policy by the government led by her husband. It's 9 o'clock on the dot. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. Hello everyone, I'm Mahesh Johnny. An earthquake rattled the city of Osaka in Japan today. We'll have all the details of that story later on in the show, but first, we begin here at home and in Jaffna. Now, police have arrested 5 suspects in connection with the sword attack incident at Malakam Junction in Thalipale, Jaffna, last night. Now, police spokesperson SP Ruwan Gunasekara said that a 33-year-old man was killed after police opened fire at a group that attempted to assault 2 policemen with swords. The other Derana reporter said that the clash broke out between 2 groups near the Thalipale church during a festival and that police officers intervened to disperse the crowd.
A clash broke out between 2 groups in front of the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Help at the Mallakam Junction in Jaffna while the annual feast got underway last night. When 2 police officers had intervened in an attempt to control the brawl, one of the individuals had then attempted to attack the police officers with a sword. Reacting immediately, the police officer shot at the individual who reportedly succumbed to his injuries at the scene. Meanwhile, 2 others who were injured in the brawl with sharp weapons were immediately hospitalized. The deceased is meanwhile identified as Pakirasa Sudarshan, a 33-year-old resident of Mallakam. Reportedly, a long-term feud between the 2 parties had led to the clash last night. Later, another heated argument broke out while the Mallakam magistrate was conducting the inquiry at the location of the clash.
சரியா போலீஸின் கடமை ஒருதனை கொல்ல வரைக்குள்ள தடுக்கிறது சரியா ஒரு உயிர் போயிருக்குன்றது எனக்கும் தெரியும் ரைட் இதான் நடந்திருக்கு இந்த 2
Following these incidents, measures were taken to tighten security in the area with the deployment of police and police special task force teams. Officers attached to the Jaffna Regional Office of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission also launched an investigation into the matter this morning.
When we arrived at the location, the police were shooting at them. The person was shot, realized that he was shot only when he ran a few meters away from the location. The police officer loaded his pistol. My uncle seized me when they tried to shoot at me, and that is when he got shot. Why would they try to shoot me instead of the people who attacked me?
Speaking to Other Derana, police spokesperson SP Ruwan Gunasekara said that 5 persons, including the 2 hospitalized, have been arrested in connection with the incident. Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Law and Order Nalin Bandara Jayamaha expressed views on this incident.
The two police officers had tried to control a clash between two groups who were in possession of sharp objects. A police officer had tried to prevent an attack by an individual who was trying to attack another by sword. And that was when the person in question had tried to attack the policeman, so he had to shoot the individual. We have all the proof we need. The policeman had done the right thing here. Five suspects, including the main suspect connected in the shooting of the chief incumbent of the Kirivehera in Kataragama, Venerable Kobavaka Dammindathera, has been imprisoned until the 20th of this month after being produced before the Tissa Maharama Magistrates Court today. They gunned down the chief incumbent of the Kirivehera in Kataragama and another monk last Tuesday.
The chief incumbent of the Kirivehera Rajamahawihara temple, Venerable Kobavaka Dammindathera, and another monk sustained injuries and were hospitalized after being shot at on last Tuesday. Launching investigations into the shooting, the main suspect of the incident, 40-year-old Asela Bandara, who worked as the chief shaman of the Mahasin Devala, was arrested last Saturday while 4 other individuals were arrested yesterday. The police also discovered the weapons used for shooting. After being produced before the court, the chief magistrate of Tissa Maharama remanded the chief suspect and 2 other individuals up until the 20th of this month. 2 other suspects of the shooting, 18-year-old Kavishka Dilshan and Hashan Anuradha, were produced before the Tissa Maharama magistrate today, following which they were remanded until the 20th of this month. Initial investigations revealed that the main suspect of the incident, Asela Bandara, has offered a contract of rupees 3 million to other suspects to shoot the chief incumbent of the Kirivehera Rajamahawihara.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that all stakeholders of the society should come together to protect the children of this country. He expressed these views at an event held in Kilinochchi today.
Daruwan Surakimu Summit in the Kilinochchi district was held under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena at the Kilinochchi Central College grounds today. For the first time in the country's history, 14 ministries, 5 departments, 6 institutions and 9 local authorities have come together to spearhead this initiative.
We should ensure that the safest place for a child is their home. When we send our children to schools, we sometimes find shortcomings to ensure their safety. Therefore, we must always pay attention to the cruelty and abuse of children in society. When we talk about our children, we also know instances in which their safety is jeopardized because their parents are abroad for employment. Taking all this into consideration, the Presidential Secretariat commenced a national program, Daruwan Surakimu. We have gathered all government institutions together to get this project off the ground. Therefore, as a government, we should undertake the responsibility of looking after our children's education, health and safety.
Meanwhile, the President vested a new athletic ground to the students of Kanagapuram College in Kilinochchi in line with the Daruwan Surakimu program held today.
Leader of the Pivithuruhela Urume, parliamentarian Uday Gammanpila, alleges that the government is reluctant to hold the provincial council election before the presidential election in 2020. Emphasizing on 2 reasons as the basis for his statement, the parliamentarian went on to urge the chairman of the Election Commission to ensure that the provincial council election is held in December this year, as announced by political leaders representing the government.
The Prime Minister made an announcement in Parliament promising to hold elections before end March 2018. We are now towards the end of June 2018 as well. Not only they have not held elections so far, they have conveniently forgotten to talk about the delimitation as well. I mean both the government as well as the JVP. They have now announced that they would hold the elections in December 2018. I'm sure nearing December, they would further postpone it to May or June next year. They will postpone the PC elections until holding the presidential elections. There are 2 reasons for it. Firstly, the Prime Minister doesn't want to face the disastrous consequences by holding the local authority elections. There was a rift between the two major partners of the government, no confidence motion against the Prime Minister, rebel against the UNP leadership. 16 ministers left the government and sat in the opposition. All these happened because of holding the local authority elections. Secondly, if provincial council elections are held, 7 out of 9 provincial councils will be secured by the SLPP. SLPP will have a very strong provincial network for their presidential campaign. That's why government wants to hold the presidential election when provincial councils have been dissolved to deny that opportunity for the SLPP. We urge Chairman of the Election Commission come forward to safeguard the franchise of the people.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa today said that former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udanga Weerathunga, has agreed to return to Sri Lanka upon his request. Speaking to reporters following a religious event in Anuradhapura today, the former president said ex-Central Bank Governor Arjun Mahendran too could be brought down to Sri Lanka through proper interventions. It is acceptable to take legal action against anyone responsible for criminal activities, but they can't take them anywhere else in the world for it. What are they supposed to do? The government must first bring them to the country. They don't make the same effort for Mahendran as they do with former Ambassador Udanga Weerathunga. We, on the other hand, had asked Udanga to return to the country and he agreed, something the government couldn't accomplish. Yes, because they too cast their votes against the government. But anyone who joins with us has to make one particular decision that they will either stay with us or the government. In other local stories we have for you tonight, representing the joint opposition, UPFA parliamentarian Rohitha Abegunawardena announced that former President Mahinda Rajapaksa will officially take over the leadership of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna on the 1st of November this year at the party's second anniversary celebrations. The parliamentarian made this remark at a media briefing in Colombo today. We have a message for the 16 SLFP parliamentarians who left the government and sat on the opposition benches. If you really love the SLFP, the first thing you should do is to tell the SLFP chairman and other SLFP parliamentarians to withdraw from the government. It is only then can we discuss the next steps. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna completes its second year on the 1st day of November this year. On this day, the SLPP's leadership will officially be handed over to former President Mahinda Rajapaksa with the blessings of all members of the party. The former president and all of us will resign from the SLFP and join the SLPP. We are, however, not ready to make a regime at this juncture, but we wish to demand for a general election or otherwise a presidential election. Postal workers engaged in a protest march in Colombo, citing several demands from the government, which includes granting of permanent employment to its staff as well as promotions. Furthermore, issuing a communique a short while ago, the Department of Government Information Centre says that all leave of Postal Department employees have been cancelled and added that those failing to report to work tomorrow will be considered as having vacated their positions. Meanwhile, Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam says that due to the strike, the deadline for acceptance of applications for grade 1 students for 2019 has been extended from the 30th of June to the 10th of July.
On the 11th of June, postal workers commenced a strike action requesting that they be given permanent employment and promotions as per the Public Administration Circular number 6 of 2006. According to the Joint Postal Trade Unions Front, around 26,000 postal employees engaged in a strike action which crippled activities in 653 post offices and 3,410 sub-post offices. Therefore, the Central Mail Exchange Office and post offices, which handle around 2 million mail on a day-to-day basis, made be from payment of fines, correspondence pertaining to examinations, and mail overseas have now come to a standstill. It is in this backdrop postal employees engaged in a protest march in Colombo, starting from the Central Mail Exchange. The group of protesters made their way to the Fort Railway Station, which disrupted vehicular movement in the area. They later held a protest opposite the Presidential Secretariat, where riot police were dispatched to safeguard the location. A decision was taken to allow 5 protesters to hold discussions with the Additional Secretary of the President. However, a tense situation erupted after discussions with the officials proved futile. Representatives of the union claimed that they were promised a meeting with the Secretary to the President, but was instead met by 2 additional secretaries. Postmaster General Rohan Aberatna expressed the following views on the postal strike.
We have prepared a cabinet paper to address the issues they are faced with. However, an order must be given by the ministry for us to move ahead. This crisis has unfolded and there is a delay in making a decision. If a solution is given, we will implement it.
Meanwhile, Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karivasam said that owing to the ongoing postal strike, the deadline for acceptance of application for Grade 1 students for 2019 has been extended from the 30th of June to the 10th of July.
The Supreme Court today informed the Attorney General to draft an order and submit to the court in order to forward Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake seeking reasons not to punish him over the contempt of court charges against him. The case was taken up today before a bench comprising Justices Priyasad Deb and Madhuru Fernando.
When the case was taken up today, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, Priyantha Navana said that all Supreme Court judges have decided that the statement made by Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake is of contempt of court. Accordingly, the Additional Solicitor General pointed out that the Attorney General should draft an order to forward it to Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake, seeking reasons on why he shouldn't be punished. Appearing on behalf of the Deputy Minister, President's Counsel M.A. Sumandiran objected to the request made by the Additional Solicitor General and said that the order should be drafted in accordance with the provisions of the Civil Procedure Code. Following the submissions made by both parties, the Supreme Court ordered the Attorney General to draft an order requesting reasons as to why Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake should not be punished.
ඔබතුමා චෝදනා කරා නීතිඥවරු සල්ලි ගැනීම සම්බන්ධව. හැබැයි දැන් ඔබතුමාලගේ නීතිඥයෙක් තමයි LOSSP වැඩිපුරම සල්ලි ලබාගෙන තියෙන්නේ.
ඉතින් මං කියුවේ ඔප්පු වෙලා නේ කියන්නේ. නීතිඥවරු දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්නවා. දයාසිරි ජයසේකර මහත්මයා සුජීව සේවසිංහ මහත්තයා.
ඔබතුමාගේ දැන් ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් තිබ්බ ස්ථාවරය වෙනස් වෙලාද ඔබතුමා දරපු මතය?
කිසි දෙයක් මම අදත් කියන්නේ හිටියේ not guilty කියලා. මම කවදාවත් ඉල්ලාස් කරගන්නේ ඒක නැහැ.
Protests erupted across the island demanding the release of the General Secretary of the Bodu Bala Sena organisation, Venerable Galagoda Atte Gnanasara Thera. Bodu Bala Sena stated that measures will be taken to bail out the Thera through an appeal made to the Homagama Magistrates Court. A protest march themed Matru Bhumi Suraksha Puja began from the Fort Railway Station today, demanding the release of Venerable Galagoda Atte Gnanasara Thera, who was sentenced to 6 months rigorous imprisonment. They marched towards the Bo Tree in Petta, where they held a religious ceremony to invoke blessings upon Gnanasara Hime. Meanwhile, black flags were hoisted by the clergy in front of the Mahanama Central College in Monragala, demanding the release of the Thera. Veteran musician and singer Ivo Dennis passed away at his residence in Sidua today. He was 86 years old at the time of his demise. The veteran singer was known for carrying forward the legacy of renowned musician Sunil Shanta. The final rites of the late singer will be held this Wednesday. Issuing a statement today, Sri Lankan Airlines says that renovations at the Bandaranaike International Airport will not affect departure times as mentioned earlier. Now, in this backdrop, the airline requests all passengers to arrive at the Bandaranaike International Airport at normal times, which is 3 hours earlier than the flight departure time. With that, let's take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
A protest took place at Kajugaswatta Kalawana, demanding authorities to take measures to prevent elephant attacks. The decision to relocate the 2 wild elephants in the Singharaja Reserve was halted as instructed by President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday. However, protesters handed over a letter addressed to the president to a politician who arrived at the location. Meanwhile, our cameras captured the manner in which a wild elephant destroyed an electricity fence constructed to block their movements at Manampitiya in Polonnaruwa. A motor bicycle which attempted to cross the railway crossing at Kandana while the rail gate was closed was knocked down by a speeding train. CCTV footage obtained at a nearby residence showed how the accident took place. Private bus owners operating from Panadura to Peta and Moratua to Peta routes engaged in a strike action today. They lamented that their services are affected by long-distance buses who travel along Gaul Road as they make frequent stops along their routes. A tense situation took place during the protest in the Moratua area during the strike action.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Business news now. The Export Development Board says the National Export Strategy, which aims to enhance Sri Lanka's export revenue to $28 billion by 2022, has been validated by relevant stakeholders and that it is ready to be presented for cabinet consideration. The proposed strategy from 2018 to 2022 will focus on developing and supporting traditional export industries as well as 6 focus industries.
The Export Development Board says the National Export Strategy was designed following consultation with over 700 public and private sector stakeholders. Issuing a statement, EDB said that 7 public and private institutions identified to carry out its implementation have reviewed operational plans and activities and confirmed their commitment to integrate proposed interventions. This paves the way for the National Export Strategy to be submitted to the Cabinet of Ministers for approval. Should the NES receive approval, the EDB said that major reforms will take place in areas relating to export administrative processes, setting up of new tools and systems to ease trade, as well as stimulating export innovation and promotion. The 6 focus industries identified through the National Export Strategy include IT BPM, wellness tourism, spices and concentrates, boating industry, processed foods and beverages, and electronic and electrical components. The time frame for implementation of the NES is from 2018 to 2022, and it aims at increasing Sri Lanka's export revenue to $28 billion by 2022.
The Colombo Bourse fell for an 8th consecutive session today to their lowest close in more than a year as foreign investors sold shares with block deals boosting the day's turnover. The all-share price index ended 0.33% weaker at 6,310.51, while turnover stood at 1.3 billion rupees. Now here is Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with a detailed report.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,947.03 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 766.5 million rupees and foreign sales were 865.29 million rupees. There were 7 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 841.36 million rupees.
The Sri Lankan rupee reported a record low selling rate of 161 rupees against the US dollar, making the rupee depreciate against the US dollar at over 21% since December 2014. Meanwhile, rupee held steady near the record low levels as the dollar demand for importers offset the US currency sales by exporters. The spot rupee ended at 159.75 to 90 per dollar, lower than Thursday's close of 159 to 70 to 90 per US dollar. Now, with that, here's a look at the foreign currency rates for the day. International news now. A magnitude of 6.1 earthquake in Japan's second biggest city of Osaka killed at least 3 people, including a child, and injured more than 200 people today. Japan's meteorological agency warned there could be another big earthquake in the coming days.
The earthquake in the city of Osaka in Japan occurred just before 8 local time in the north of the city. The 6.1 magnitude quake did not trigger a tsunami warning, and nuclear plants in the area are operating normally. However, more than 170,000 households are without power in Osaka and neighbouring Hyogo prefecture, while gas supplies to more than 100 homes were also stopped. Meanwhile, airports in the area were closed for several hours, train lines interrupted, and factories had to halt production. Japan lies in a particularly earthquake-prone region and accounts for around 20% of quakes worldwide of magnitude 6.0 or higher.
In a surprising turn of events, the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, spoke out against the zero-tolerance immigration policy implemented by her husband's administration. Melania made her concerns heard after controversial media reports emerged of child separation at the US-Mexico border. US President's new immigration policy has sparked much criticism for the past 2 weeks.
Melania Trump today issued a rare public statement at odds with her husband's policy of separating children from their parents at the Mexico border. Her spokeswoman Stephanie Grisham said that the First Lady hates to see children separated from their families. First Lady Trump had also called on both Mexico and the US to come together on immigration reforms as Democrats press for changes on controversial policy. Melania's intervention came as reports emerged of children being held in cages at a warehouse in Texas after being separated from their parents. One cage had 20 children inside. On Sunday, the US Border Patrol allowed reporters to briefly visit the facility where it holds families arrested at the southern US-Mexican border, but they were not allowed by agents to interview any of the detainees or to take photos. US media reports that nearly 2,000 children have been taken from their parents since US Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the policy.
If you're smuggling a child, then we're going to prosecute you, and that child will be separated from you probably as required by law. If you don't want your child to be separated, then don't bring them across the border illegally.
Church groups and human rights advocates have sharply criticized the policy, calling it inhuman. Last week, the White House defended the issue, sparking an argument between a reporter and the White House spokeswoman.
These laws are the same that have been on the books for over a decade, and the president is simply enforcing them.
Come on, Sarah, you're a parent. Don't you have any empathy for what these people are going through?
I'm trying to be serious, but I'm not going to.
But you're sitting there telling us it's a law. Honestly, answer the question. It's a serious question. And you throw children in cages. Don't you have any empathy for what they go through?
Jill, go ahead. Your questions for you first.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Here's Katharina Chang with your weather.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures will range between 20 and 34 degrees Celsius over the course of the day, with your highest temperature recorded in the eastern region of the island. Now, if you take a look at the map, you can see that there will be a high precipitation zone, particularly in the western region of the island, and will gradually move towards the northern as well as southern region of the island over the course of the day. Now, this means we can expect some thunder showers in the cities of Puttlam over to the northern area, as well as some sunny weather is forecast for Jaffna as well as Trincomalee and Vaunia. Moving downwards, however, wet weather is forecast for most parts of the western, northern, southern and central region of the island, with showers forecast for the cities of Colombo, Galle and Kandy. That is it from your weather centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. Before we wrap things up for tonight, we like to take you to the Anuradhapura city that holds a rich collection of archaeological and architectural wonders. Anuradhapura was once the capital of the country during when King Pandukabhaya was ruling the nation. It is currently declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.